Have you ever wondered how sound can heal, inspire, and transform your life? What if the vibrations around you could unlock your true potential and guide you to a deeper sense of harmony? Welcome to Sound Pathways, the groundbreaking journey into the healing power of sound, creativity, and connection with your host, Dr. Karen Olson. In each episode, she explores the profound link between your mind, body, and spirit, from composers and musicians to sound healers and visionary leaders. She'll dive into captivating conversations that reveal how sound shapes your reality, heals our wounds, and helps us manifest our dreams. And guess what? You're part of the conversation. So call in and ask questions and experience personalized sound healing live. And let your sound be your guide to the life you've always dreamed of.
Welcome to Sound Pathways, where we explore the stories behind the music. We listen for the creative process behind a life in the arts. We look for what keeps a dream alive through many seasons, and we carry that inspiration into our own lives. I'm Karen Olson, and today I am so excited to welcome Annemarie Picerno. She's an award-winning singer, songwriter, performer, and composer. She's also a filmmaker, collaborator, and gifted storyteller, and her work blends heart, power, and a remarkable versatility. Annemarie wears many creative hats, and each one feels deeply lived. Her music moves through Americana, country, blues, rock, and soul. Yet what ties it all together is her honesty, passion, and presence. And that makes her sound unmistakably her own. So welcome. Welcome. It's so great to have you today.
Yes, hi Karen.
Hello.
Dawn. I'm thrilled that she invited me on this. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank you so much. So to begin, what feels most central to you and who you are as an artist?
Definitely honesty and authenticity in the creation of the music or the video or a combination of both. Because, and I've been really passionate about this over the last year or so, with the increasing use of AI, artificial intelligence, Suno, and all the millions that you see pop up in your social media feeds these days, and everybody jumping on board. I want to go back to the raw elements, the real elements of music in its creation, its presentation. And I don't mean to go on and on, but this is a loaded question, so just bear with me 1 second on this one, okay? If we all remember, and I'm kind of old, when we were kids, right? I had a little electronic organ, and it had the little buttons for A, B, C, G, the chords, right? It would play the chord. Was that AI? Then all of a sudden people had Photoshop to erase wrinkles. Is that AI? And I think, the more we get into everything looking and sounding so perfect and things being done for you through computers, is that these days kids can't spell, they lack critical thinking. And when it comes to artistry and the creation of art and music, now we've got not only body dysmorphia from people that think they look like all that photoshopped photos that give perfect bodies and perfect wrinkleless face, if that's even a name. And then you get into the creation of music, where now we have individuals that use Suno or use artificial intelligence, not only to make the music sound better, but some of these are just songwriters. They're not the performer. And that is my biggest dissent against AI, is for individuals that put into distribution and music stores songs, and they put it under their name like they're the performer. They are not the performer. And I don't know if they put a little voice sample in, but some of these people I know personally can't sing. And so I feel it's even more important now, more than ever, to go back to the basics where, remember, in the old days, before computers, people had a guitar or handmade instruments and they brought them to the campfires and they told stories and they played and shared music. And if you look into folk songs, these folk songs traveled just by people becoming familiar at these gatherings and sharing, right, their instrumentation and their music and their stories and songwriting. So for me, I kind of right now am gravitating to single instruments and vocals that are mine, that are not perfect, that are not uh, computer generated or artificially altered. And that was my last Grammy entry, was just a keyboard and a voice, and that was me in all its authenticity, its rawness, and imperfections.
That's beautiful. I just wrote a blog on perfection, and it is such a trap because it's not obtainable. Like, who is going to finally give you that award of being perfect? And it is that humanism and that connection that makes it really impact us the most. I remember falling in love with original recordings, like of High Fitz and Brahms' voice, and there was so much realness in it, and the flaws and the notes that weren't quite perfect that were left. And now, when you go in the studio and you're mixing, which is a really fun process, it's almost like you're playing it again because you can fix it in a certain way, but everyone's used to it sounding perfect without any errors. And that is a really different experience in the creation process and in our lived lives in every area of our lives. So that's a big way to start out, and a big thing for us all to think about and to dig deeper in our creativity. And I know when I use AI, it sparks, because I'm very intuitive, it sparks so much more in me, especially if I'm writing something, and it falls so short of really that deeper connection. And I mean, it's amazing. It's very, very limited, but it can have a purpose, but not in place of our own intelligence, our own personalities, and what we share. And I do know that people feel that because I really believe in the energy and the frequency and all that's passed through and really can become healing. So, and another thing I know, I'm just getting to know you more, and it was fun when I would see you at different events. But one thing that comes across is how much fun you have with life and what you do, and just in your spirit. And that's something we can all have more of.
You.
Yeah.
I don't know which performances you may have seen, because as a multi-genre artist, I've done everything from rocking out to Led Zeppelin to blues, where I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna
Mm.
pull this microphone 2 feet away and people are gonna hear the power of my voice. And then most recently got back on the piano, trying to go back to the roots of simplicity. And I don't claim to be a great piano player or even a great guitar player, but I think, when it comes to songwriting, even lyricists that put song ideas into Suno, if you're a great songwriter, it's about the message, the story, and there's usually a moral to the end of a story or some message of hope or whatever the theme is. And I find that it just gets into like people that use rhyming catalogs and they're just unusual and weird words. That's how I can usually tell. It's just badly written in some cases. Now, yeah, it's great how they can put all the music together, but it's collecting all most commonly heard musical themes and arrangements. So, with that said, when I write, I always try and write from a perspective. It might not always be my perspective. I try and think of a character, or who is that person that's singing the song? That's the character. And what's there, it might not exactly be my point of view, but I find that interesting as a songwriter. And then the story, and is there a twist to that story, presenting, say, the conflict? And that's all writer, even in literary and books and writing a theatrical show or movie, it's going to have a theme, it's going to have conflict, and then hopefully resolution, or at least some sort of ending. So I write that way. And then when it comes to performing, a lot of times I've chosen those up tempo songs because so many people choose ballads or pop or rap, and I want to show them a voice. And I learned how to sing in a 3,000 seat theater back in college. I was a musical theater major, and we just had those little boom mics hanging from the ceiling, and you had to learn with vocal technique how to breathe support and point your voice towards the back wall of the theater. And so I learned a lot in my musical theater training. And back then, Dreamgirls was really big. And I was a big Aretha Franklin fan and Etta James. And, obviously learned a lot of Broadway, and then learned how to mix different sounds in my voice because I had a wonderful vocal instructor that taught a lot of great technique and how you made belt and use chest and then go up into head voice, and how she would actually have you mark the music on each individual note. Well, this is chest, this one's belt,
Oh.
this is modulated, this is this. And so you in your brain understood the technicality of how you were physically producing these sounds. And that training has carried me through so many difficult situations. She even made you show up when you were sick so you could learn if you had, say, strep throat or a cold and you only had 3 notes to your
Mm.
range, and you had to sing a high pop dance song and you only had, oh, well, then you modified everybody dance now, and you did the gig. And she taught you not only how to be perseverant, but how to be consistent, how to show up, and how to adapt in any difficult situation and still do a show. And that training has carried me through so many years of difficult situations. And I loved her. I loved her. She was the wonderful instructor who has since passed away. Her name was Jan Sullivan. And
Mm.
she taught me a lot about my voice, how to use it, and how to adapt, such in life. So that is all transferred into my music and how I present it.
Oh, that's beautiful. She must be so proud of you.
Yeah, she was. She was definitely a mentor, a mother, a friend, so many things. She did write a book and a video to show how people produce different sounds, and I taught a lot of her students. Um, People don't realize, there's a myth. Oh, drink hot sauce or uh, lemon in this and it will soothe your vocal cords. Well, it might soothe the back of your throat, but your vocal cords are in your airway passage. They are nowhere near your esophagus or your digestive system. It is your trachea, which is the men's Adam apple. And a lot of people don't realize when they have vocal issues trying to get high notes is when your larynx or your voice box is lowered, your voice is deeper. And then if you are kind of bringing your tongue up and forward against your lower cheek, your voice box is raising up and your voice is going to be thinner. And it actually is the very tip of your vocal folds, where in classical there's a rounder sound and maybe the voice box is dropped lower and it's using all the folds of your vocal cords. And she was a voice scientist.
Mm.
But just like with the bell of a trumpet, if it was stuffed with something, and your physical posture and breathing and technique helps open up and let your voice flow naturally. If you stuffed an instrument, it's not going to produce. So many people have so many physical bad habits and things they do with their mouth and their jaw, or collapse check, or they don't breathe while singing. I'm very in tune to all that, and learned so much. So definitely it does come out of my performance, my training. And I do love to, blow out a great blues tune and see the audience go, wow, she doesn't even need a microphone. Wow.
Wow,
Um,
that's it is
you know,
beautiful.
it's fun. But then there's a sensitivity too. And also recording is a very different technique. You have to really dial back when you record.
Hmm.
The microphone does pick up everything, but it's a different technique. But the most I feel authentically is the emotion, as you mentioned, behind a song and the lyrics. And really, if somebody was to close their eyes and not see what you're doing physically, they can feel what you're singing about. And even there's a color to choosing a character and singing the song that will change your vocal tone a little bit. So I employ all these techniques that I have acquired since being young and dumb at age 19 and going to school and being shaped and molded. But I've carried everything I've ever learned. I just keep trying to layer and layer. And I think that's how I became multi-genre, because I love all styles of music.
That's amazing. So your music, it moves through so many styles, and it just with so much ease. And how did that blend become your own voice? And does one kind of resonate with you more than another?
Um, my music styles probably have changed a little through the years, because first I started off in musical theater. So obviously I wanted to sing like Jennifer Holliday and Dreamgirls because that was super popular when I was a musical theater major, and Fats Waller, and um, you know, I think any young artist or young individual is always going to be influenced by what trends are out there. Then, 80s classic rock and Journey and Styx and Billy Joel. And so I started getting my rock edge. And then I came across a little cassette tape of Aretha Franklin in a gas station, which is my favorite album of all time. It was
Mm.
one of her first Decca, I want to say, recordings, and it had everything from Dr. Feelgood on it to um, It Won't Be Long, to some gospel, to Love Me Like a Man, and Bonnie Raitt. And you know I started hearing those bluesy things. And the thing about blues, people that use auto tune, if you put a bend to a
Yeah.
note and you're actually sliding through a couple half steps to the note and it's intentional, auto tune will put a weird vibration to your voice. So I generally don't use auto tune um, in when I go into the studio, because you want them to hear that maybe it's depth, and then you're squeezing it through a note to a thinner sound. And that is part of the delivery. And blues has a lot of that, of kind of bending notes and traveling through quarter steps. So I really do like the blues, though it's my own version. And then once in a while, I like to put out a good rock scream. So, you know, it really depends on how you feel. Um, but my tastes have changed, and I still love the classics, classic rock. Obviously, I've sung pop songs because I've been in every band imaginable. I've been in pop bands, I've been in dance bands, wedding bands, classic rock bands, blues bands. I was in a great jazz band with stand-up bass, and they had the vibraphone and I did so many different styles. But I do tend to gravitate what I'll call my music multi-genre, because it's whatever sounds I feel like producing at the time. So I think I've always had my own voice, and I just kind of play around with it based on how I want the listener to feel. Plus, I tend to not choose as far as melody. If everybody goes, me, re, do, then I'm going to go, because I want something different.
Mm-hmm.
And I always choose opposite of what maybe somebody might expect the melody to go. And the same with rhythm. My producer's always telling me you're singing in the pocket. And to sing in the pocket on the offbeat, you have to be pretty particular. But I love when I go to, say, a blues jam or any sort of music session where other musicians and we're just going to jump in and we're going to play together. I'll be like, come on, bring it, come on. And they start something, and I'll be singing intentionally opposite and filling in whatever space is in what I'll call the rhythmic air. And I love to do that. I feel like it makes the music move. And that's why me and my producer, Bob McGilpin, who has done so many of my fully arranged songs, we work well together because I'll say, bring it, or give me a guitar solo like Santana. And he will put his arrangements opposite of what I'm doing. So it's a nice interplay. And music should have physical movement. And, new age might be a great example, though that's not the only genre where you might feel that. But movement where things either go circular or you feel them and you feel that rhythm and not only in a musical fashion but in a physical energy.
Mm. That's really inspiring that you have such a broad range and you can tune in. I think it's good for us all to do that. And I wanted to ask, when you're thinking of a song or a project, do you think about, are you inspired by a mood or a story of your own or another story, or the lyrics or the melody or a title? What do you have, something that usually comes first, or does it just depend on the project?
Usually, well, I would say lyric wise, sometimes just something that somebody says triggers a songwriting idea. For
Hmm.
example, a very close friend of mine, every time we said goodbye, give him a hug, and he'd say, I love you, right? Like, so two things I do when that sounds, I could write a song about that. And so there's two things I do. One, I get on Google. Did anybody else think of this song? Because many, many years ago, one of my first releases was a song called Bad Girl. I Googled that. There's a million different versions of Bad Girl, all different genres, sounds, singers, right? But that still is a great song. My song that went out, Bad Girl, where it was about a schoolgirl crush. But going back to I Love You Right, I could not find that in any musical presentations. I'm like, all right. And so even when I'm thinking of song titles, I'll kind of do that and maybe even change the song title if I feel I want something that nobody's heard of before. So that song became all about that phrase, about saying goodbye to somebody you love and care about, knowing that there's a trust, knowing that, is it, I love you, right? A question, or is it, I love you, right? Meaning, this is the right kind of love, or we understand each other, right? And it became a song. It just flowed because what I wrote was about that little moment that was only a couple seconds. And it's easy if what's the message. And typically, the verses in songwriting will be the setup, the chorus will be the message. And if you have a bridge or turnaround, that might be the moment of revelation if somebody's in conflict of what that message is. And then it's either going to have resolution or it's going to be the devil's advocate of, well, here's the other side of that story. But the chorus is usually the message. And then it just flows. Now, there have been a few songs like Bonfire, I'm playing my guitar and the words and the music, me singing, just came out all together. And typically when I write a song, it's just like boom. I might do a little restructuring and take out additional like these and those and just get right to the point. So if I think about the most recent release, Dreams and Wings, instead of saying the skies are blue and all of a sudden it's coming stormy weather, sky so blue turns to stormy weather, oceans deep, not the ocean so deep. Just get right to the point and let your voice kind of, spread that emotion. So I try and make metaphorically, my lyrics also sometimes have double meanings.
Mm.
And I want the listener to interpret, just like the video. What's that song really about? Well, it could have more than one meaning, and it's what the listener feels from it. And it
Mm.
might touch them in a way that impacts them from their own personal experience of, just like we all might go to the Grand Canyon and somebody might feel one thing and somebody else be like, my parents used to take us as kids to the Grand Canyon all the time because we grew up in Arizona. We were like, oh no, not the Grand Canyon again. But others would be just crying at the beauty of it, right? So I try and write things that people do feel, but then I also put humor in some of my songs as well, and things that are debatable for people to discuss.
And thank you for mentioning the video because you're going to be sharing that. We're going to be able to share that at the end. So I'm really excited. And that your whole aspect of having the vision of filmmaking and the videos, and you're so multi talented that you can put that all together to share and brings in so much of life. So we're going to take a little pause and come right back. What would you suggest for listeners who have a dream, but they're not sure or they're overwhelmed or they don't think other people maybe can do it, you can do it, but they're not quite worthy enough? How would you suggest that they could think about beginning and stay true to their dream even when the path isn't as clear, but through the journey they find it?
Well, my song Dreams and Wings. Now that was a song where the chorus was written first. You have dreams and wings to fly.
Hmm.
I'll raise my hands, and lift somebody up and watch you fly away. So that song has once again some double meanings because there's love in it, there's sadness, and there's regret in somebody because myself as a recording academy member, I feel like I have a lot of talent. I feel like I have artistry and creativity that other people don't have. Every person's unique. Sometimes I'll watch people, they get nominated, they get this. Did they work for it? Yes, they did. Did they promote, do these things? Yes, they did. And sometimes I feel like I'm watching from afar because it does take an incredible amount of time, an incredible amount of money.
Yeah.
And so the hidden meaning in that song was still supporting successful artists, not being jealous, supporting them and giving them their opportunity to be successful. Now, on a personal level, I've had many friends in my life that either were challenged, didn't go through things, and I've been challenged. And the support to still support somebody
Mm-hmm.
and watch them achieve their dreams, sometimes that means they're going to leave you because they are going to fly away. And, that expression, if you love somebody, let them, fly. And if they're meant to return to you, it's not that they're meant to return to you. You never owned them in the first place. But
Mm-hmm.
you want to believe, if you believe, truly believe in somebody, you're going to support their dreams and desires, even if you can't follow them. So that is what Dreams and Wings is about, is loving, supporting, letting that person realize their value and their worth to maybe fly away from maybe not the best situation and also achieve their dreams, and how you're going to love them even if it's from afar, that it was the right thing because it was natural and it was meant to be. So, and that without that love and support from you, they might not have realized that, and they might have stayed stuck down at
Mm-hmm.
the depths of the ocean. Like part of the video shows me drowning in the ocean, because there have been times where I was really depressed or going through traumatic experiences, where am I going to really drag everybody down with me, or am I going to try and still lift my friends up, my family up? Am I still going to? And then there's a hidden kind of part of that too, where social media and stuff, I took a break, but yet I felt like I still, well, friends don't know what I'm going through because I didn't advertise it. We won't even get into that, but just life happens and sometimes bad things happen. And they envision me as maybe, oh, she's this, or she's happy and confident and successful. No, I think everybody gets down in the depths of despair. So a lot of that is in that song, but still loving somebody and wanting my misery to not affect them and their success. So there's a lot of meanings in that song, which was very simply written. It was only two verses, though, if you notice, the chorus is different. Um, it does say you had dreams and wings to fly, but the second chorus is different, even though it has the same melody, but the message is the same. And I decided to do the video in black and white just because I was playing around with AI, and there's other versions of it on Instagram. Um, but I was playing around with AI. So it's a very basic video. But if anybody remembers Jonathan Livingston Seagull with
Mm-hmm.
Neil Diamond's music, that actually was a movie in the movie theater. And all it was about birds. It was different shots of birds, right?
Yeah.
But there was a message behind the music and all that. So there's a lot of visual metaphors of birds flying, me releasing the bird, uh, you know, the character in the video jumping into the ocean and sinking to the depths and the waves and the calm of nature amidst a storm. And yet, in the distance is a lighthouse with a beacon of light that is the ray of hope, and the bird flying through it to pass into the beacon of light, which is actually Jesus at the end of the video. And was it meant to be religious? Was it meant to be spiritual? Not exactly. And there, once again, is what does somebody take from that video is what affects them the deepest, as far as what is this song about. It's going to touch anybody in more than one way, and they might put their own meaning to it.
That's beautiful. Like you touch on so many things, including the importance of community and the whole sharing process, that sometimes it's your turn and you're lifted up, and sometimes we can lift up others. And I too feel really honored to be part of the Grammy community and have watched people that have won and been nominated, and they do change, and their confidence grows and their opportunities build, and it is beautiful to see. And sometimes it does make them less available, but it's really
Yes.
inspiring to have this group that can cheer them on. And it's really, it's a beautiful gift, and just for everyone in life to find those groups, even if it's a small group or even if it's online. And I thank everyone here in this Pathways community, that we can be inspired by each other, You're really, really such an inspiration of how you bring all your parts of life together and find ways to share it with all of your gifts. It's really, really amazing, and that we get to experience it because it's your music, your story, the images, and the details in how you create it that we can be entering into your world and lift it up. So, how can people connect with you more and experience all of your videos and maybe catch a live performance? And you're in Nashville, right?
Correct.
That's exciting.
So over the years, well, I've always performed out in Los Angeles at the showcases. In Nashville, I tend to do veterans events,
Nice.
and occasionally I'll be at Music City Bar and Grill, which is gaining lots of popularity along with the Troubadour Theater, which is across from Opryland. But I just get out and jam with my fellow local musicians. I don't have a band myself at the moment. I've kind of wanted to migrate for myself into more of sync licensing, getting my music into films,
Yes.
commercials, and then also as a songwriter, writing for other people. Why? Because I'm not 20 years old anymore. I, I work to support myself, and gone are the days where you work and then you gig 5, 6 nights a week and travel all over the United States and sleep on people's couches and hotels, at least for me. So I choose quality over quantity as far as the projects. This year, I'm getting on more collaborations. One which I will be singing as a featured artist on Samir Badhi's New Age album. I believe is going to be in New Age.
Beautiful.
And my music, I have a million ideas up here, but I took a little break after the last Grammys off social media. And it's more, like I mentioned earlier, just to get more in touch with what type of music do I want to put out that is authentically me, doesn't sell out to AI, and is real, because I can duplicate whatever you hear on a recording is what I can do live. And not too many people can say that because of all the artificial mixing, mastering, or even, voices that aren't theirs. And so we're going to hear a lot more about that, I think, legally and in music. So I want to put out real music and almost strip away everything. But I have a mix of everything from rock to traditional country to blues to multi-genre with sounds of blues, jazz, rock, pop. What else did I miss? Uh, those songs are all, if you can spell or pronounce my name, Annemarie Picerno.com. And of course, I'm in all the music
Oh, could you spell
stores.
that, please? I mean,
Yeah,
yes.
I think where's the little Anne Marie, Annemare, and the last name Picerno, Picerno. And you know, I think a lot of artists should do that. But if you Google your name, you'll be you'll see your impact of social media. So you can find pages and pages if you just Googled my name,
And you have a
Anne
YouTube
Marie
channel?
Picerno. Hmm?
YouTube is also a good spot to find
Yep,
you.
I'm on YouTube. Also, there's a sub name Amplified Sound, which was something I used for a lot of promotion or other things other than my music as well. But there's an entire history between YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, iTunes. You'll find interviews, but everything on my website too, you'll find at annemariepasserno.com, from videos to interviews to all my music and photos and candid, I don't know, candid shots and comedy. And it goes all the
Mm.
way down to coming out of theater and when I was fat and when I was thin. And, once in a while, the history pops up in any of my feeds where I'm at. I'm like, oh, I was fat there. And it's like, you want to delete it, or you're getting older and you have wrinkles. And it's like, you know what? It's part of my history. It's part of
Yes,
my
and
history. So
I'm waiting to
it's
watch your
there for
one
anyone.
woman show on Broadway.
Yeah, that's definitely been
Yeah.
a consideration of taking all my original music,
Yes.
and they all have hidden personal stories behind them. They all, of course, are part of me or something I experienced. Um, there's a story behind it all.
Well, thank
Absolutely.
you for all the stories you've shared. You're such an inspiration. You really touch life and you're so authentic and really have touched us. And I'm really grateful. So, what moves us most deeply is not just meant to be heard, but it's to be lived, that we can apply it in our lives. And it's something that we can carry forward. So, reach beyond just admiring someone and put it into your own real life and your own expression and let that inspiration become a living part of your own journey. So what we spoke about today and honor it in a true way. Let it become one choice you make with intention. Let it become one action you're willing to take. And let it open up a new beginning in your own life. Create the life you were born to live. One breath, one choice, and one step. Now, keep following what is true to you. Blessings and love.
I had a dream of a perfect life, fall in love, watch the heavens rise. Always knew you had a different view. I would lift you higher. You had dreams and wings to fly. I'll raise my hand, watch you go, fly away, you fly. While I fall, you fly. I fall. The sky is so blue, turns to stormy weather. Oceans deep, this world drowns me under. I always knew you'd go on your own. I heard the lightning flash, you found your home. The light was on, you'd fly. Why? I fall, you'd fly. I fall, fly away, little bird.
Thank you so very much for joining us on today's transformative journey. We're honored to have shared this space with you, and we hope you're feeling inspired and aligned with your highest self. For more insights, resources, and to continue your path of healing, be sure to visit KarenOlson.com, your gateway to deeper sound healing, music, and wisdom. Remember, Sound Pathways is here every other Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific on BBS Radio TV, Station 1. Until next time, stay aligned, stay inspired, and let the magic of sound guide you.